I always try to cover these segments because nobody else really does it, and I think it's incredibly important to go into the specifics of this kind of propaganda. So here we have Fox News talking about Iran. They're talking to a former Trump administration official here, and this is it's a tsunami of lies.
Just this week, Iran fired off missiles at a U.S. military base in Iraq, killing a civilian contractor. But, Obama official Ben Rhodes saying, Iran is right to be angry that the U.S. broke the Iran deal. What's your reaction to that?
Look, they may not like it. The Biden administration may not like how Donald Trump got the leverage, but Donald Trump has gotten the United States enormous leverage over Iran. Economic leverage, oil leverage, military leverage. The whole region is now looking at Iran as a power that needs to be contained and a power that should not be allowed to go back to where it was. The Biden administration should use that leverage to renegotiate a deal that does, in fact, stop Iran's nuclear program, that does, in fact, stop Iran's relationship with al-Qaeda and Iran's support for terrorism. My worry, Liz, is that the Biden administration, in their zeal to kind of get back to the good old days of the Obama team, they're now giving away everything up front in hopes that maybe Iran sort of might continue to be good in the end. When you negotiate with a country like Iran, you negotiate from a position of strength. And when you give up all of your negotiating power, all of your chips, you show all of your cards up front, you're not going to get them to go along with everything. They'll just pocket what they've gotten and say, what are you going to give me next? So, Liz, I think it's a big mistake to have this approach that they're taking, and I think it will only lead to the one thing they promise it'll never happen, which is a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, Liz.
There's already a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, and you have Israel to thank for it. So, yeah, it's kind of amazing how they have this conversation and they just exclude Israel and pretend like they don't have nukes, even though everybody knows they have nukes. I mean, the reason why Iran wants weapons is because they need it for a deterrent to aggression from the U.S. and Israel. Now, you might dislike that I'm saying that. It might trigger you, but our own intelligence agencies have admitted such things when it comes to a number of our official state enemies, like North Korea, for example. They've admitted, to the extent they want a weapon, it's really because they don't want to get toppled. Because they saw what we did in Libya, where we made Gaddafi give up his weapons, then he voluntarily gave up his weapons, and then we toppled him anyway. Because Gaddafi saw what we did in Iraq, and he was like, oh, Americans, I love you. Here, take my weapons. No problem here. I could stay in power, right? And we were like, sure, bro. And then we toppled him. So the thing that's impressive about this is every part of it is a lie. Every part of this commentary is a lie. Every part of it. The core claim is Biden's giving away everything to Iran up front. First of all, no, he's not. Second of all, he should, because we broke the Iran deal and we pulled out of the Iran deal, and they continued following it even after we pulled out because Europe and other countries were involved in it. And it was only after the whole thing imploded that finally they were like, okay, I guess we're going to go back to, making nuclear weapons. And then we turn around and say, oh, how could you? We broke the deal and then we pulled out of the deal. We're in no position to lecture them about dick. And if we were to get back in the deal, aka give them everything up front, well then they would get back in the deal. But the idea that we violate it, we pull out of it, and then we tell them, okay, now you guys get back in it first. We broke the deal. Why is it not incumbent on us to get back in the deal first? We're the problem here. And you're emboldening the hardliners in Iran, where now they look like geniuses because the moderates look stupid for ever trusting the United States and ever doing a deal with the United States, because now they know a deal with us is not worth the paper it's written on. And then the final point is, she brings up the relationship with al-Qaeda that Iran has. This is how you know. These are propagandists, these are liars, these are neocon, war hawk, war criminals. Because Iran doesn't have a relationship with al-Qaeda. Iran and al-Qaeda are mortal enemies. It's a Shia theocracy. Al-Qaeda's hardcore fundamentalist Sunni, Salafists, or Wahhabists. I mean, I don't think she's dumb enough to not know that. I think she knows that. And so she's lying on purpose. And I'm just amazed at how, the fact that this this gets played in the U.S. as news when every word out of her mouth was a lie. It was genuinely impressive how everything was untrue. And again, this is why I feel the need to talk about this, because nobody else is going to talk about this. Some people watch this and they just assume some of what this woman's saying is true. And they think like, oh, Iran's a real threat and they're the real problem. We're the problem. By the way, we're also illegally sanctioning them. We've sanctioned medicine from getting into that country, and people are dying because they can't get the medicine that they need. And then it went to the International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court said, you guys got to stop sanctioning the medicine going into Iran. And we said, go fuck yourself. We pulled out of the International Criminal Court, and we continued sanctioning the medicine. So we're hurting the civilian populations. We broke the deal. We ripped up the deal. We sanctioned them and are hurting the civilian populations. Then we have the nerve to play the victim and act like they're the aggressor? How stupid do you have to be? But they're not stupid. I think they're just liars. And by the way, what does this show you? To the extent that anybody in the Biden administration was thinking, oh, we need to be more hawkish because that's how we'll get the Republicans off our ass if we act like them. I don't know if that's their motivation, but to the extent any of them are thinking that, take a look at how they're responding anyway. You're acting incredibly hawkish. You're acting just like the Trump administration when it comes to the Iran deal. And guess what? They're still attacking you from the right and saying you're not being hawkish enough. You're not being militaristic enough. You're giving away everything up front, even though you've done nothing. And if anything, you've just continued Trump's policies. So there is no appeasing the unappeasable. These are bad faith smear merchant liars, and they're war hawks and they're neocons, and they want nothing except regime change, and their actions and their words prove it.